game like this, when it clouds your thought and you can't focus as well, you make mistakes. And those mistakes can be costly, however small or large they may be. And of course, the no introduction needed, RDU, a guy who's been dominating tournaments for basically as long as he's been competing in them. And this is, D2, again, he's one of the guys that's qualified for BlizzCon, so obviously a very strong player. But RDU is no joke. He's someone, unfortunately, he's unable to compete at BlizzCon Worlds. However, the invites would have worked because of his residence. But showing that he definitely should be there in his own right, given how well he's done in tournaments so far. So this is a matchup I'm looking forward to. And again, sort of two styles that I think are very different from each other. RDU likes to focus on longer games that require lots of decisions being made, and D2 focusing on, sort of the way his team was with DKMR. They like to deck build and like to try to exploit the metagame that's happening there. And RDU, again, focusing on long-term decision-making. He feels his sequencing is basically second to none, and that given more decisions, that he's able to win the games.
Sounds good to me. D2, a player from Japan, but he's originally hailing from America. Let's see what he can do. Warrior versus Warrior to start things off. Sounds good to me. I didn't have much to do today anyways.
Resurrection of Warrior is sort of be the theme of this tournament. We see right away RDU's got Fiery Wind Axe in his hand. This is one of the most important cards, I think, in the Warrior matchup. It allows you to fight off Acolytes of Pain without giving them too much advantage, able to put pressure on Armor Smiths, and even in a lot of select situations to chip away at your opponent's armor, so that way they don't have that 5 armor point where some of your minions are more vulnerable. Like, obviously, if you play Sylvanas and your opponent doesn't have 5 armor, they can't shield slam it, so they have to have a shield block to go along with it. So, again, just one of those really important cards, and if you draw it early, that's even better, because now it opens up the floodgate for Deathspite as a follow-up, or even more Fiery War Axes after that.
I saw Ironbeak Owl and BGH from RDU. I think that only can mean one thing. More hoggers.
Yeah, buddy.
More hoggers. D2 stream a little bit behind, so we'll have to jump on RDU's POV to see what's going on. But I think this is an okay start for the Warrior. Generally in the early game, Admirable was the one to first tell me this. It's not necessarily about how you get efficient. I mean, you can get a lot of efficiency out of your big cards like your Ragnaros, your Alex Strauss, your Gromach, but also being able to get really good efficient use out of your smaller cards like Acolyte of Pain with Fiery War Axe and Armor Smiths. That can also determine the matchup a lot in the early stages of the game.
Definitely want to be scaling in this matchup. D2's having a little bit of trouble with his stream. Again, streaming across the world can have some issues, so we're going to be focusing on RDU's perspective here, and he's already got a quick start. Armor Smith into Acolyte of Pain, and Even's got backup for it. Big Game Hunter for the long game. A couple of shield blocks to make sure that he extends his armor leads, that shield slams are almost always going to be active, and 2 Fiery War Axes in case D2's got some minions that are going to stick to the board.
Well, if D2 has a weapon, that's the best way to take out the Acolyte. You don't want to allow your opponent to draw any cards as much as possible. If he has Deathspite, that's also an option. Choose to go for that.
Yeah, could never blame someone for taking out an Acolyte straight away. Obviously, it's he doesn't want to just be giving his opponent extra armor, but the alternative is to give your opponent extra cards.
Well,
Harrison Jones. That belongs in a museum. I have a feeling I'm going to be saying that a lot this tournament, Frodan.
Yep.
We've seen about 65 Harrison Jones so far. He's been drawing cards. He's been looting. I talk about loot hoarder.
Yeah, this guy. He's a 5-mana loot hoarder.
He's rolling the true need. He's like, I need your weapon. No.
He even gained a little bit of armor on the flip side of things, too.
Yep.
Well, Fire War Axe is a way to counter it, but the damage has been dealt because now the second charge of Deathspite allows this Sludge Belcher to be safely dropped without losing its first body. So,
yep,
this is a great momentum swing already for RDU.
Baron Geddon, something we're seeing a lot because of all the Shaman presence, but also Baron Geddon, little known fact, great follow up to Big Game Hunter. If your opponent Big Game Hunter's like a Ragnaros, and then you drop the Baron Geddon right afterwards, it's going to kill out their Big Game Hunter, and then you have a 7/5 body on the board. Black Knight, not too shabby, though. Effective 5 points of damage.
Yeah, and that puts out the strongest body out there, but your opponent could just shield slam easily and get rid of this, but RDU doesn't have it, so you might have to dig. He also has the opportunity to just take this out easily with cool Taskmaster combinations.
Yep. I like this play. Seems to be the most effective way to deal with it. Again, not too big of a deal to have a Cruel Taskmaster out on your opponent's side of the board, but this board position does threaten Sludge Belcher a little bit. It does threaten Sylvanas, and that Cruel Taskmaster is going to continue to chip away at D2's armor so that RDU can maintain that sort of control. It's important to not have your opponent be able to just shield slam for 1 mana straight away. Makes a big difference. Even drawing a charge from Fiery War Axe.
D2 had 3 of his weapons in his first 10 cards of his deck.
Unstable Duel is something we haven't seen too much of, but here it feels like it's going to be really good.
Yes, getting a couple of draws would be excellent. RDU also can pick into it a little bit, but I feel like you play Baron Geddon here, remove the Acolyte, start putting pressure back on your opponent.
You know,
do you feel like
it's a
better option? Goes Sen'jin instead.
Yeah, I think it's pretty tough here to drop Baron Geddon because again, in a Warrior matchup, you expect Big Game Hunter to be on your opponent's side of the board at some point. So ideally, you want to follow up a Big Game Hunter with a Baron Geddon. I don't know if he has the time to do that with this kind of hand because it's the only legendary he's got. But stuff like, the Sen'jin Shield Master and the Shield Blocks can draw him to that point. So I think he feels pretty safe doing it. But he's going to take the more aggressive approach. I can't disagree with this. I think this is a totally fine play, and likely one I would make in the same scenario. Because sort of on the other side of the coin, because he doesn't have enough legendaries in his hand right now, he might have to just plop this down and hope it gets work done.
Well, if D2 doesn't have the BGH, he has to use a very inefficient way, like execute. Or he could have shield block, shield slam. That is another opportunity. Yeah. So there's multiple ways to take out this Baron Geddon, and it looks like this is an execute.
Yeah. The other thing too is that if Big Game Hunter does get played here, he just has Fiery War Axe to clean it up, so he's not losing very much from it either. So that's another just benefit of playing it right here is you don't lose anything by playing it really. It's not an important card in this matchup by any means.
Okay. Sen'jin easily bullied by Lotheb, but his hand doesn't really seem that good anyways. The shield block just cycles through, and he doesn't even have shield slams to complement it. So RDU, I'm assuming D2 has a slightly better hand than what RDU has, because this is one of the worst you could possibly have.
Wow, Alexstrasza straight away. He wants to get some work done. So he's going to be dropping. I don't know if he's got Grommash or not, but goodness, if he does, this is a bad position for RDU to be in. Now, interesting play here. So he's going to choose to take the damage. He's going to shield block first. I like shield blocking first just to get a little bit more information about what's happening. Now, the question here for me is if you play this Acolyte or if you armor up, because you're getting low on life, so you do have to worry about Grommash. I mean, the Alexstrasza straight away is a pretty aggressive play. If your opponent can capitalize on that board position, it can slip away. 14 though is like, I think it's pretty out of range. Like he's not worried about like Inner Rage and Fiery War Axe or anything.
Yeah, precisely. I think was one of my deciding factors. The only way you could die is if your opponent had that 0 mana spell that gives you +2 Inner Rage.
Yeah,
that's the only way you can actually die from that point on.
Yeah.
So I think this is a safe play. You don't necessarily need to just go for the armor up here. D2 climbing back with his own card draw, though, that's really important.
Ooh, that's a really important one. That's also a really important one. Gosh, both these guys are trading back and forth.
So we draw first? Is that the plan?
I don't really know. I don't think Brawl's that bad here, but it's not like great. It's just like, when else are you going to get value from it? You don't want to just sack your Acolyte that way, though. You lose a lot of value on your Acolyte if you choose to Brawl.
Huh. Wow. This is certainly an interesting development of things. So you have an ability to play your own Sludge Belcher.
Something else is he can Cruel Taskmaster this Sludge Belcher and then start... This will get 2 cards off of his Acolyte, with the Acolyte still being on the board. Because now his opponent still wants to kill this Acolyte, but how does he do it? Really being patient, not executing one of those where that Acolyte of Pain on his opponent's side. Looks like we've got D2's perspective back. Gorehowl is in his hand.
Huh.
And that's a card that seems to me like it's really tuned for some of these Warrior Mirrors. You want to get a lot of mileage out of your weapons. It's one of the ways you can win the game, is just by overwhelming card advantage. And Gorehowl it's exactly the kind of card that can do that. It puts you into that 15 life range to kind of nullify the advantage you'll get from, or your opponent will get from Alexstrasza. So it just turns into an 8/8 body at that point. Because you'll just be so close to the 15 damage mark. And really threatening to take over this game. Second shield bot picked up, but he doesn't have any armor yet.
Yeah, but now he can answer pretty much whatever comes out. And Barrigan's already been played, so the sweep possibility from your opponent's been also eliminated. Yep. Where does RDU go from here? Ugh, another shield. Like, a shield slam doesn't really do anything. Another piece of removal doesn't really help in this scenario.
Yeah, I imagine he's gonna. Even Sylvanas is gonna get matched by the Spellbreaker. Spellbreaker, it's something interesting to note is that, like, I think Iron Beguile is a better card because of its flexibility versus everything else, but in this mirror match, I think that Spellbreaker is a superior card.
Sure.
Yeah, he's not even
like you pay 2 mana to buff your Iron Beak by 2.
He's not going to play the Sylvanas here either. He wants to shield slam his own Sylvanas to take something super important. I think that's a win condition he's going to try to rely on this game.
Well, you have 2 targets where I don't think you want to use Gorehowl charges on, but I think better off than nothing because you want to have at least, just like you said, the small little creatures to peck away the armor.
Yep.
You think he's just armor up and passing? Saving the Spellbreaker?
I can't imagine you'd play Spellbreaker in this position. I mean, there's so many things you have to think about. Cairn, Sylvanas.
Right.
Maybe even another Sludge Belcher. Yeah. I mean, there's just so many things that can threaten it. So RDU trying to wear armor, or trying to wear the damage away from his opponent so that even if he wants to play Sylvanas, he wants to play it so that it doesn't just die straight away. They're trying to get Gorehowl charges out of his opponent's reach right now, but D2 has got a lot of tools to back that up.
Another weapon. Redundancy with the Gorehowl.
Yeah, he's going to choose to use the Spellbreaker here, I think. He just wants to get a body on the board, so he feels comfortable with his lead in terms of where his removal is. So he feels like it's better to expend the Spellbreaker right now just to start getting damage in.
Yeah, I think so, especially because if you're using your weapon charges, Deathbite can set up for that whirlwind effect finish with Gromosh, so you can have that synergy to threaten and put RDU in an uncomfortable position.
Yikes. Second shield slam is... I mean, this is not the target you want to use a shield slam on.
Yeah.
Wow, he's even... I think he's even considering execute. Yeah, you can tell that RDU feels like he's running out of time. He understands that he's at a disadvantage in this position.
Yeah, his opponent's winning the fatigue war too, so...
Yep.
It's not a very good spot.
Yeah,
that Gorehowl just threatening everything.
So much work. That Gorehowl's actually been the difference in the number of cards these players have, because RDU had drawn more cards this game, but Gorehowl's killed 3 minions at this point.
Okay, well, you know, the Armor Smith, as little as it is, your opponent just showed that he had the Shield Slam with no other effect. Yeah, so he has to be holding a lot of situational cards. I think the Armor Smith development is... I mean, it's just nothing... There's no reason against it, but... Oh, now that's a card.
It's going to get Shield Slam, though. That's the problem, is you're worried about Shield Slam with this card. This is one of the reasons why it's so important to keep your opponent's armor in check.
Sure, but, I mean, he needed something, and whatever he gets off of this... Oh, okay, well... I was saying if he
I don't even think it's that bad right now. I think he needed a minion off this more than anything else.
I think getting a big board swing of things would have been good too. Oh, Ragnaros comes into the hand.
Just about. This is a curious spot. So, you have the option to sacrifice your Cruel Taskmaster to develop the Ragnaros, but is that the play you want to be making right now? Like, your opponent hasn't done anything for so many turns. Like, you have to just feel like he's got a ton of stuff, right? Like, obviously, your Cruel Taskmaster and your Armor Smith are enough of a threat that it's chipping away at your opponent. So it's like, how much do you want to invest into the board at this point? Because Brawl has to be in the back of your mind. Obviously, Executes are in your mind. Big Game Hunter is something you're thinking about.
Possibility of Faceless Manipulator with Big Game Hunter.
Yeah. It looks like he's gonna develop it, though. I can't say I disagree. I love slamming Ragnaros on the board. Not only that, but it's going to clear out your opponent's armor, too. Oh, he's actually just going to sacrifice some of his own armor.
It's fine. He's at 25. Ragnaros comes down. His opponent will go down to below 10 health.
Yeah, something to think about, though, is how this implicates Brawl. So now your Ragnaros only wins the Brawl 33% of the time versus it would have won 50% of the time, just on the current board state. And he wants to increase it even more than that. I'm going to predict it's Armor Smith.
I think the Cruel Taskmaster. No, it's Ragnaros. No. Oh, that's going to do it. He has no way to kill it. And RDU will drop game 1, the Warrior Mirror. That is a crucial game in this series.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate outcome there from from the brawl, but you know that's part of the risk of playing a card like that, is that sometimes you will lose the brawl, and when you lose the brawl, awful things happen.
It was a high chance he lost the brawl, but to lose it to Ragnaros specifically, that's
the true loss. That's the true loss in the brawl, is when Ragnaros wins it. Any of the other minions you're fine with. So in his mind, it's a 75% success rate there. But you know, I mean, as powerful as a card of it is, it can potentially kill 7 minions with 1 card. You know, there should be some risk associated with it, and it happens to be the one of the factors in this game. I'm not sure if it would have changed the outcome too much. I think D2 still had a pretty substantial lead on that game, but you know, that one just ending a lot quicker because of that.
So the reason why I said it was an important win is because both these guys once more banned Warlock on each side, and Warrior is one of the best equipped classes to taking out the Hunter because of the life gain. All those small little effects to kill off the 1 health, 2 health creatures. Now, RDU has to fight against a potential Hunter deck with just his remaining classes, which I think he has his own Hunter, and he has a Shaman. So if he doesn't have a Shaman that's well equipped to fight the Hunter, then he's going to be in a really tough spot. Because again, D2 can pick advantageously. Like, if he just picks Priest into the remaining 2 matchups, and D2 just has a really good lineup for the rest of the series.
Yeah, this is something that, for those of you who are just joining us, this format is a little bit different from how a traditional ban format works. So this is going to be best of 5 with 4 decks and 1 ban. And in this instance, the winner can actually announce that they're changing their deck. And that's what D2 is going to do here. He's changing his deck after he's won this game. And that's a really good point. It's because he wants to have this Warrior in his pocket again for when this Hunter comes back out. So he doesn't want to risk it losing to Shaman. So he's actually going to change decks, and like you said, Priest is going to line up well versus the 2 remaining decks he has left. So it makes a lot of sense, I think, to change the Priest here.
And if you're an RDU spot, does it really matter what you pick if he goes for Priest?
I think, I mean, it definitely does matter what he picks, but you know, I mean, it's hard to not pick Shaman, I think, here, because if your opponent doesn't change decks, you know, they have Warrior. But like, what can you do? He's next leveling, though. He's going with Hunter, and D2 actually changed to Hunter too.
Huh. Okay.
So maybe he feels it's the weaker of his decks in this matchup, and he's just trying to fish for information.
Well, yeah.
Or maybe he's going to the next level and is like, I know you're going to pick that, so I'm going to pick my Hunter, so it's not as bad.
Huh. I don't think we went for deep enough, man.
Gotta go deeper.
Well, D2 needs to dig deeper, get that Undertaker. In fact, he kept 2 cards to be safe instead of going fishing for Undertaker.
Yep. I can't really blame him. I can't really blame him here. I think that Loot Hoarder is actually pretty strong in this matchup. But RDU picks up the Undertaker that he needs. Not even a golden one. I don't know how he drew that.
I don't know if that's the Undertaker we deserve, though. But it's the Undertaker he needs to climb back in this series. Oh.
Well, there's Undertaker.
And this is why you want to make sure to RSVP early to any party. Don't be that guy that clicks maybe on Facebook. Just yes or no.
I want to know now. Do you remember? Did you ever watch WWF when you were younger?
A little bit. There was a wrestler called The Undertaker, right?
I mean, this is ages ago. But do you remember the Undertaker versus Undertaker match?
What?
There was a
mirror match of wrestling.
Yeah, so Undertaker had left the WWF, and then Ted DiBiase had hired the Undertaker, but everyone suspected it was a false Undertaker. So then the real Undertaker came back, and it was Ted DiBiase's Undertaker versus the real Undertaker. And then, of course, the real Undertaker wins, even despite getting Tombstone Piledrivered like 4 times. It was crazy.
I have no idea what you're saying, but it sounds epic. I really don't.
No, that's ages ago. I mean, I was like 8 years old when that happened.
What is a Tombstone Piledriver? Like, does he?
It's where you pick them up and you pile driver them like head first, but like they're in front. They're like It's like a tombstone. Like you tombstone him down. And
Yeah,
then
but then
arms
do
and pin him
you say a eulogy after you throw him down into the ground?
The eulogy was the ref counting to 3.
I suppose so. Well, by the way, there was a debate of when RDU want to play the Knife Juggler, go for the potential snipe with the Haunted Creeper suiciding, or you can play the Web Spinner, buff up the Undertaker a little bit more. What do you think about that choice?
I like the buffing Undertaker, of course. Like he's got a distinct advantage to that card. He needs to press it. He didn't see Eagle Horn Bow from his opponent, so I think he's just kind of hoping his opponent doesn't have it. D2 held on to it, though. I think probably for a position just like this. So even though he lost his Undertaker, he's able to kind of recover the position. So now he's behind on life, but I think he's going to be able to develop some card advantage here. That Unleash the Hound's actually looking pretty good. But it just depends if RDU is going to have the damage to finish this game. Again, he's got a pretty significant damage lead, so I would assume he can.
Timber doggies. So RDU has the flair to take out whatever trap comes out from this mad scientist. He also has Timberwolf, and with Knife Juggler, it heavily implies that he also has Unleash the Hounds in his deck.
Well, he picked up the Timberwolf from the Web Spinner, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now he has synergy off of that.
Oh, if he has Web Spinner.
He also has Leroy in his deck, don't forget.
Does he really?
Like, yeah, he does. So Leroy, Unleash the Hounds, Timberwolf.
He definitely could have. I haven't seen his list. I don't know anything about it.
Well, we saw in the opening mulligans that he threw away.
Oh, did he really have it in his opening?
That's right.
Oh, wow. I guess I missed that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you toss it away, and of course you don't want Leroy in the opening hand, but it's an interesting stylistic choice. I saw Strifeco run it back at Seed Story Cup, and he felt like it was pretty good. Maybe RDU saw it, or even better yet, Strifeco collaborated with RDU in some capacity. Who knows? This Unleash the Hounds is the way for you to bounce back into this game right here.
Yep.
But look at the life lead. Like, RDU just has a very strong way to press in for an advantage. And D2 might just die in a couple turns, not by any of his choice.
If that rolls a Misha, that could really change things.
How about a Huffer?
Oh, geez. None shall pass this one. That's going to be a Black Knight directly into that Misha. I think it's exactly what he needed to actually be able to have a very strong chance to win this game.
Yeah.
Again, he's still behind on life, but now he's got a 4-5 out. He's triggering his opponent's trap.
Ooh, freezing trap.
Oh, it's just
wow,
completely
what a
that point.
sequence of events. And D2 even had Flare, by the way, so... Wow.
RDU's drawn the worst card in his deck, which was his second freezing trap. So now D2 just checks that again with the Hound and continues to go from there. Getting low on life, though, something he does have to keep in mind.
Yep.
He could even flare it if he wanted to.
I think you should.
Exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah. Flare, you can kill off the board. How much damage does your opponent have? It's 3 plus 2 from the hero power, so that's 5. Your opponent needs to do 7 damage with 2 cards if you play Savannah Highmane.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he's going to opt to go for the bow instead. Bow does represent the 6 damage that you'd get anyways.
Oh my gosh, he's going straight for the dome. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know if that's the right decision.
He's playing Kodo in his deck.
Wow.
What
do you think Kodo's aimed at? Why exactly do you think he's playing Kodo? Just good value?
What's popular in the current metagame? Warriors? Armor Smiths?
Seems reasonable. Acolytes?
Acolytes, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I like D2's attack to the face here.
Now he has to win on this turn. 4, 6, 7, 10, 12. 13 damage, I count from the hand.
Yeah, there's no way that's going to get it done. Wow, RDU picks it back up from behind for a little bit there, but the damage early on proved to be just way too much. And that's sort of the nature of this matchup too, is it's like your early game is a struggle for it decides who gets in the early damage and who gets the card advantage. So D2 found the card advantage that game, but it was just too much of a sacrifice on life to be able to put together a good sequence to close the game out there. It was just by the time he had advantage, RDU was still at 30 and D2 was at 14. 16 points of damage is a lot of damage. You have to deal now twice as much as your opponent does in the same period of time. So
I believe 9 points of that was dealt through Undertaker as well to start off for RDU.
Yep.
Man, that is brutal.
Through. Hunter hero power is it's so gratifying to me. I'm just like, let's just get this game over with. Let's go to the next one. 2 damage, back and forth.
I have to imagine RDU is going to want to stay on Hunter, right? You don't want Shaman to get picked into the Priest. So that way, the Hunter. Well, I guess if D2 can choose if he wins anyways, it won't matter because if the Warrior beats the Hunter, because D2 can react to RDU. So if RDU chooses Hunter, D2 reacts with Warrior, and then he's stuck with Priest versus Shaman if that loses. And if RDU picks the Shaman, D2 responds with Priest.
I think you want to go with Shaman here, and the reason is because if you run the Shaman into the Warrior, that's really good. And even if you don't run the Shaman into the Warrior, you still have to win. Still have to run Hunter into his Priest anyway, in that instance. And even if he runs Hunter into his Warrior, that's bad. Like, it makes a lot of sense, I think, to switch, because I think you're more likely to 2-0 with the Hunter in this situation than you are to 2-0 with the Priest. That's what I think, anyway.
It's tough to call. It's tough to call. The winner of the series, of course, gets a date with Lothar in the winner's bracket.
Who wouldn't want that?
Fangirls across the internet screaming delight and jealousy. Oh my god, RDU x Lothar. Well, I'm assuming RDU is winning the series. Maybe it's D2.
I think you're absolutely right when you said Kodo was here for Warrior. That was a good call.
It's so effective to shut down their ability to get armor or even draw cards.
Yep. Oh, those are 2 of the worst cards that D2 could have drawn.
Man.
He kept Sludge Belcher in the opening hand. I guess, is that card that important in this matchup, you think?
What? Sorry, which card? Sludge Belcher?
He kept Sludge Belcher in his opening hand.
Oh, did he? Huh.
Yeah.
Not compared to having early answers like Armor Smith, Fiery War Axe, even to kill off the Undertaker.
Yeah, or even like Cruel Taskmaster to help pick apart like stuff like Terminal Leopard Dome.
So, but maybe D2 knows something about the matchup that we don't. Well, yeah, I mean, no Undertaker.
I was about to say, finding cards like Sludge Belcher, like if you win so often when you have turn 5 Sludge Belcher, maybe it is worth it to just keep it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sludge Belcher can get a lot of work done too, especially if you combine it with Armor Smith. But man, D2's already faced with a position where he could easily lose his Armor Smith to the Eagle Horn Bow. I mean, Armor Smith always is always under fire, right? If your opponent gets Huffer off the Animal Companion, it just dies. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is one of those. This is like Armor Smith is so good on turn 2, and then it's so risky on turn 3. I feel like. I feel like even Fiery Wind X is a good card. I don't know. I mean, maybe Sludge Belcher just really is that important.
No, I like Fiery War Axe a lot against Hunter nowadays because even if they have the turn 1 Leopard Gnome, the idea is you shut down Undertaker really effectively. Oh,
I was about to touch on this. I think that this is a totally fine play too, because if his opponent wants to use Eagle Horn, speak of the devil, if his opponent wants to use Eagle Horn Bow here on this Armor Smith, it's going to cost him his Mad Scientist in the meantime. Leok, I don't think Leok's that bad though. I think it's a little bit worse than Misha is at this point, but it's still going to be getting some work done.
He can coin out the Kodo next turn too if D2 is playing very conservative with his Armor Smith's health. And even on the flip side, Kodo also has other uses that people may not have a direct application, like killing off the second body of Sludge Belcher, for example, if you need to.
I like this play a lot. Get rid of the Leok now. Don't have to worry about it. Your Armor Smith's still on the board. It still threatens the Mad Scientist. You get a few points of armor out of it. Shield Slam's not that good in this matchup anyway, I don't think. Especially not when you're holding an 8 and a 9 job. You just need to develop to that point. And Kodo, I mean, this is... Wow. Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. That card is in there strictly for this matchup, I feel like.
Well, and D2 now has Sludge Belcher. Let's see how much weight it pulls.
Wow, he's got a copy of Slam, too. That's something else we haven't seen in a lot of these Warrior decks. Slam has been trimmed out of a lot of these decks.
Yeah, Slam is a card Savitz was telling me that he thinks it's very underrated because people feel like it's one of the first cards you can cut because it's expendable. It's a cycle card. But he feels like it plays so strong to the Warriors' win condition, especially with Gromosh. Sometimes you're using the weapons when you don't want to. And you're not able to get off the enrage. Sometimes having Slam is good. In this scenario, allows him to kill off the Kodo.
Yeah, I agree. I think Slam's a great card. Losing him really nothing there. Mad Scientist still on the board. Wow, and there's Savannah High Mom as well. This is
Savannah High Mom. Oh my god. You went there. That just happened. Oh my.
It's got to be top decked by RDU to be Savannah High Mom.
Oh my god. Savannah. You are too much. You know that. You are too much.
Sludge Belcher is going to put a pretty big dent in this board, though. Man, maybe it just really is. I think that actually was a pretty good keep now that I'm looking at the board positions.
Sure, but now you have Savannah Jaime with no armor.
It's definitely true. Hey, look, he picked up a Starving Buzzard.
Wow. And that next, I mean, if the Jaime has something to suicide into, assuming he can't do damage.
You know, the other thing, too, is if he plays that Starving Buzzard and then follows that with Snake Trap, if your opponent goes to weapon that, they're going to draw 3 cards first.
Yeah, it's so true. You forget about that combination.
Yeah.
It's not as simple as picking it off with like a cool Taskmaster.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Imagine if he had an ability to silence the...
Yeah, this is
a big hunter.
He's not going to be able to play the Snake Trap this turn, so I think he's going to hold off on the Buzzard as well. Yep, sure. I think this is a really good play. And now the Law of Highmane is in effect. Amaz said, if a Highmane attacks your opponent, you win the game.
In the face.
Yeah, if it attacks your opponent in the face, you win the game. We'll see how true that is.
Well, I don't see an alternative, really.
He's got a Freezing Trap on the board, too.
That's right, Freezing Trap.
Yeah, I don't know if DTwo is going to get out of this one. This is a really tough spot. And again, he's just stuck with the 8 and 9 mana cards in his hand that he had since the beginning of the game. So he's just been working off 2 less cards.
He needs Shield Block into Flare into Shield Slam.
In the flare?
That's precisely the 3 cards he needs.
Well, Shield Slam could still... I mean, Shield Slam would just be fine here, too. If he Shield Blocks into Shield Slam, he can still silence the Highmane and then Shield Slam it away.
True. True that.
I think he's effectively got 1 out, but, you know, it's better than having 0.
There's just nothing to do with
I think
Gromosh here.
His alternative is to hope that this isn't Freezing Trap, which is what he's going to do. But here's the bad news. So now he's aware that he only has 1 out.
Oh, man.
Yep.
He needs a Shield Slam.
This is it. No, he picks up that Gore Howl. It won him a game, but it's going to lose him this one. And, wow. I mean, this is a huge lead now for RDU.
Snake Trap. Snake Trap is totally.
He's not even going to develop. Look at that. He's going to continue. Oh, he's going to develop. I thought he was going to play around brawl here for a second. Yeah.
Well, what can you do if you're D2?
Well, you can draw another 8 mana minion. I mean, there's just no way, right?
He has. If Rag snipes the Savannah Highmane, does he survive?
Yeah, he does survive that. If RDU isn't drawing damage, yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, I guess it's his best shot, right?
That's right. Ragnaros
gonna go for it.
Lion.
Oh
man. RNG intensifies.
Oh, that's not the right one.
Oh. Hey, you should play a Starving Buzzard to throw off your opponent's scent, don't you?
I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it'd be funny. But RDU, I think, is more than happy to just win this game and go on to the next one. Picks up his win, evens out this matchup now. It is 2 games to 2. And D2 relying... I'm sorry, it is 2 games to 1. Wait a minute, it's 1 game to 1. What am I talking about?
It's 2 games to 1.
It's 2 games to 1.
He won Hunter.
2 games
he
to
won
1.
the Hunter Mirror.
Right? I'm already tired.
No worries. He won the Hunter Mirror. He also won Hunter vs. Warrior. And now he has Hunter versus the Priest.
Yeah. Which I think is... that's the position I think he wanted to be in.
Well, ideally, he had a better response to Priest than just Hunter and Shaman, but I mean, I can't really figure out another way that he would be able to have a good matchup against the Priest otherwise. His Hunter needs to get a good start. Priest needs to whiff on turns 1 and 2 of draws, and from there, Hunter can perhaps push in for a win.
Yep. So it depends on how this matchup goes, but I think we're ready to get into game 4 now. I can't imagine he would want to swap to Shaman at this point, but we'll see what happens. I think he wants a little bit more intel before he goes to that. Again, winner of this is going to be fighting their way through the winner's bracket. They'll have to get through Lothar first. We've seen Number Guy and Force in advance so far. But the players who have lost are not out yet. There's a loser bracket. This is double elimination. So all your favorites who've managed to lose today, you can see tomorrow.
That's right. It's a 2-day event. We're happy to bring you guys these actions. I'm glad to see D2 getting an invite as well. He's going to need a little bit of help, but he's got one of the better classes against the Hunter. And he starts off with the Northshire Cleric. A great start. Just needs to piece together a couple other things early on. And he can stabilize enough to the point where Hunter can't do anything.
Yep. Northshire Cleric, again, a very important card in this matchup. It contests this about as best as you can.
Yep. Absolutely.
He's got Shadow Madness too, so there's potentially some really dangerous turns for RDU.
Does RDU even run Houndmaster? Like, Shadow Madness is one of the most effective cards against Houndmaster.
If they Houndmaster up that Spectral or the Haunted Creeper, and then you take it and run it into the Houndmaster, that's the nightmare scenario.
Well, D2 does also have Auchenai clears with Circle of Healing. Is that really important to have, or do you feel like other cards are more important, like a strong, stable early game, even Pyromancer?
Oh my gosh, he picked up Captain's Parrot off the web spinner. Oh my gosh, that's awful. I would really like to see him Power Word Shield here too. I mean, obviously, the only thing you're concerned about, I think, is Eagle Hornbow, or I guess maybe Huffer. Huffer would be pretty bad. Well, he picked up a second Circle of Healing, so now he's got access to use one of those just to draw cards if he'd like.
Oh. Well, that's another thing Kodo can snipe.
Yep. Yeah, this is that Captain's Parrot. You know, I would like to see that stick in his hand until he can use that to kill command instead of just playing it straight away.
Yeah, but at least it's another target, right? So that way, like, if your opponent attacks into it and heals, at least he's using 2 mana, and now you can stretch and damage a little bit this way. This is gonna try to see if you can use so that way you can use Eagle Hornbow next turn.
Well, if his opponent doesn't circle.
Oh, you are correct, sir.
Wait, no, he'll still have 5. Yeah, because he'll have. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay, I'm right.
Yeah,
I'm just not used to.
I'm stupid.
I'm not used to that, Admirable. Don't fool me.
You're not used to me being wrong. Pfft. I'm always wrong.
Not at all, sir.
He picks up 2 cards from this, though.
Oh, Pyromancer, that is excellent. Ooh.
Oh my gosh, he even had his second Power Word Shield. I think he's wise to not use it here, though. Like, if he uses it here, and then, like, say he faces an Owl or a Hunter's Mark, or even a Kodo. He's seen a Kodo still, too. RDU now, instead, he's forced to take it out.
Line it up.
Yeah. So, D2's got a chance to draw more cards here, but Kodo's going to take that out. So he's gotten a pretty significant advantage from it, but Kodo's going to get some pretty good mileage.
He's already drawn so many cards. Do you need any more?
Well, it's just what else is he going to do this turn?
Yeah, that's also a good point.
I mean, I guess he could, like, Wild Pyromancer and Power Word Shield. But, like, that doesn't really do anything, does it? I mean, you can circle and draw 2 more cards, but then you lose your Alkanite combos.
Yeah, that's true. You don't actually lose too much by doing that. Like, before, you're always worried about what your opponent can do on the board.
Right.
You do have
the worst
a lot of
cards.
cards.
Is Kodo.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think you just draw an extra card and go from there.
Yep, get the Ysera draw out of the way. All right,
Thrilled to play that Kodo. That's super important. I think it's one of the only ways he's going to be able to get his board developed and start making a big push for the win. Second
I think
Hawkeye.
D2 wants to start thinking about possibilities of how to answer a high main the following turn as well. He's got Shadow Word Death.
I think a really good way to do it is just Shadow Madness as Haunted Creeper right now. You run it in the Kodo, and then you get the 2 tokens from it. You're at 25 health, so you're not too worried about your own life total.
That's interesting.
You have multiple ways to start dealing with the board after that.
That's really interesting. Because the next turn, you also have the ability to Arcanine Soul Priest Shadow Madness clear, right? Or sorry, not Shadow Madness, Circle of Healing clear.
I think this is also totally a reasonable play because it's like 7 health is really hard to kill this thing at right now. So he has to invest so much into it to kill this 7 health thing. I mean, it's gonna, all of his damage on the board basically.
Can you... Do you have to address this? Is it? I guess it's too much of a threat.
Yeah, I don't know
if
you want to leave 3/7 Alkanized hanging around. It's like a really bad spot to be in. So this is like a spot where he's just kind of hoping that Shadow Word Death is not in his opponent's range. And it's not only is it not Shadow Word Death, but Shadow Word Death like with like Wild Pyromancer and the like. This is one of the reasons I think I didn't. Oh my gosh, he picked up Smite.
Oh. See, Pyromancer, Smite.
Oh, he Pyromancer Shadow Word Deaths and then he Smites, right?
Yeah. Well. Yeah, I guess
clears
so.
the board. Yeah.
I was thinking about maybe not having to use Shadow Word Death if you do something else, like Smite and Shadow Madness, but you don't have enough mana for that.
Yeah.
If you could Pyromancer, Smite, Shadow Madness, some kind of combination, it would have been really cool.
Yeah. Pyromancer, Shadow Madness, take the... No, even that wouldn't clear the tokens because the tokens would still hang around.
No, if you Pyromancer... Say he had 7 mana. What I thought he could do was Shadow Madness with the Pyromancer and then Smite. And that'd be like another way to clear without having to, like, use your Shadow Word Death, so to speak. But I think this is just the best way possible.
I think this is a good line too. I mean, you lose... This is effectively like a 3-for-3, but the point is that you've already drawn so many cards that if you just stave off your opponent's ability to really put a big impact on your life total, that you're just fine.
Yep.
So now he's got 7 cards to 4. His hero power is going to be negating his opponent's hero power, so his opponent literally has to win just with the cards he's drawing for the rest of the game. Makes a Huffer. It's a good start.
All right. It is 4 attack, but it can easily get no-scoped by that Arcanine Soul Priest.
I'd like to see Sludge Belcher here. Sludge Belcher into hero power himself. Even picks up Mind Control. Yeah, that's exactly what he's going to do. And now this threatens your opponent's board in multiple ways because if they play a 2-power minion, they can just Shadow Madness it. God, he keeps showing secrets. That's not what he needs. He's like some of the worst draws in his deck right now.
Yeah, fair enough. But at least the secrets, the first one's Freezing Trap, right? So it disincentivizes the Sludge Belcher from attacking.
That's what the Shadow Madness is for. Oh, wow, look at this.
Pyromancer, Shadow Madness.
Well, he's got to do it right. I think I would have liked to see him attack first with the Sludge Belcher. So Sludge Belcher's going to go back to his hand.
Oh,
the
you're
Snake
right.
Trap would have triggered. Yeah, and then he can play Shadow Menace afterwards. This way, I think he's going to... I mean, it's likely he has to burn Circle in this spot now. Unless he's just not worried about it. I mean, I guess he still has plenty of pressure on his opponent's got 1 card. Like, what is he even worried about? I guess he can just hero power himself.
Yeah, and then you keep the Circle of Healing with the Arcanine combo.
Yep. Oh, you just hero power
Seems
Sludge Belcher
reasonable.
too. Yeah, that works too. Oh, that takes out all 3 of the tokens. That's actually... Oh, wow, look at this. Oh, my goodness. I didn't even see this line. That was a really great line. And this is probably getting close to the GG mark. This is sort of the nature of Priest. If Priest stabilizes, it relies on its ability to win almost every single long game in a stable position. And I think that's the position we've reached.
Yeah, well done by D2.
That was a very strong line. He kept his Sludge Belcher alive, kept his Pyro alive, and cleared his opponent's entire board. That was actually a line I did not see just from straight away. He had to think pretty deep for that. He found it really quickly, too. Savannah High Mom,
Slow
not good
motion
enough, I
timing.
don't think. Yep, that's just going to be a mind control. Or is it just going to be lethal? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, he's a little bit off. He's one off lethal.
It looks like it. He can't use the Holy Fire and Akanai hero power.
Yep.
But he can take his opponent's high main.
Yeah, I think you just hit him for 3 and then mind control this. But unless he doesn't want to reveal mind control, that could be something that's in his mind.
Yeah, I suppose. No, you're absolutely correct. It's just funny that you say that's a possibility as well. Sure.
He's just going to silence, which means he's going to Holy Fire. Oh, no, he's just going to use the... All right, that's fine, too.
Does it
He
really
can do
matter?
whatever he wants. It doesn't matter. He can just blow up his own Ysera and win this game, so... Everything coming out. It's going to be a big Leroy turn, but I think it's too little too late at this point. Unless he,
Unless he has Timberwolf.
Okay, so if he draws 2 mana Starving Buzzard,
Hold on.
and then draws 5 Hunter's Marks...
I mean, he can make this interesting with Direwolf Alpha. That's the same thing as Timberwolf.
Leroy's coming in, 6 tokens on the
Leroy!
board. Yeah, buddy. One of his tokens sacked.
Oh my
He has
goodness.
to sacrifice one of his tokens before hand, so
How
this
much
can happen.
damage is this?
Yeah, it's not quite enough.
Man. Still made a game at the very end. Finish line.
This is
Well,
just options.
yeah. If he had what? 10 or 12 damage? It's unfortunate.
He had 11 damage.
11
7, 8,
damage?
9, yeah, 11 damage.
Oh, okay.
Not quite enough. D2 is going to take this series, or I'm sorry, he's going to tie this up 2-2. Pretty well played priest game here. Yep. Northshire Cleric really showing its dominance in this game. A very key card that you should be mulliganing for in this matchup because it counters so many of the Hunter opens. And this is like it's something we've seen a lot of people straying away from is these Death Rattle priests that were really popular early on when Naxxramas started to really get rolling. Everyone's kind of gone back to the wild Pyromancer versions, which are much more centered around stabilizing your board position and winning the long game.
Yeah, I think Control Priest is really strong. It's especially against the answer to all of these aggressive decks that we see, like the Zoo deck it's great against, the Hunter deck, even against the aggressive forms of Shaman, which we've been seeing. Priest is excellent against that. So I feel like D2 is in a prime position with this Priest deck to shut out the series. And then we'll have Lothar and D2 come from the lower bracket as opposed to Strifegrow and RDU. Wow.
Yeah, I definitely, if that was what happens, I would consider it 2 upsets for sure.
Rip Gosu Gamers rankings. I know RDU cares a lot about that. He's always talking about Gosu Gamers rankings and falling up rising up and falling down. Falling up is very hard to do.
I'd love for them to be able to have a system that could track Swiss records. Because so many ESL tournaments, it's like they don't count the first 4 rounds because it's 256 players plus and things like that. So like the first 4 rounds, it's like because they have to manually input the matches. It would be so much work. No, it's not for me. It's like, well, Alchemix, for instance, Alchemix has started so many of those 4-0 and then lost his 5th round. And then actually, so he goes 4-1 in the tournament and loses ranking on that system. And it's just because it's too much work to manually input, 128 rounds and then continue to do that every single one of those tournaments. It's just, so they count it when they get down to a smaller field and it's more manageable. But, I'm certain they have something in the works to get actual Swiss rankings done too. Wild Pyromancer, I guess Wild Pyromancer is super good in this matchup. It feels like it just kills everything if you get the right combination of spells.
Man.
He's already got Alkanai Circle.
Yep.
And a Power Word Shield. This is going to be a really big battle from behind, I think, for just right off the bat. He's got a lot of strong cards.
RDU have? What can he do? Well, I suppose one way that RDU could fight back is if he has cards like Doomhammer and D2 doesn't have Harrison Jones. That was one thing that really put like a pin on any attempt for Striker. Like he was already far behind, but it was like every single card that Strifeco had, Lothar had the perfect response for.
Yeah.
So it was a shutdown, and the Harrison was the icing on the cake.
Oh, D2 missed a big misplay here, by the way. When you're playing Priest, you have to heal your opponent and then threaten him.
No, you threaten first and then heal. That's right. Work on your Priest mechanics, Evan.
I'm not a Priest player, man.
It is.
That's the only sequence I know. Maybe that's why I've been losing so much. I always threaten first. I'm sorry, afterwards. We get healed. I'm like, what the? It didn't hurt me at all.
Thought Steal. Huh. Yeah, I guess Thought Steal. I mean, everything else seems very weak.
Uncivilized. Yep. Oh, he steals a Doomhammer. That's some important intel.
Yep, he is playing Doomhammer now. Imagine if he Thought Stole and got 2 Doomhammers. just like double
what the
Doomhammer.
heck?
It's like, all right, well.
So this is a matter of like how much that D2 is willing to invest in this board position to try to clear all this out, because like he's got a couple of different options. So like he could lead with Wild Pyromancer and like Circle of Healing, and then like Earthshock, and then Power Word Shield or something like that. I'm sorry, or just the other way around. Oh, maybe he can't do that.
Maybe he can. No, he can. Oh, you're right.
There's got to be a way to clear the Haunted Creeper tokens this turn. He
I
may
think
just.
the effect is about the same though, either way, right? Because then the last sweep still kills off the 1/1s. So just Earthshock, or you Circle of Healing now, and then Power Word Shield, and then Earthshock. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. You don't need the silence value. You just need the fact that it deals damage and
right. That it's a spell.
Yep. That's what he's looking at. And again, it's just a matter of how much he's willing to invest to clear this board position. RDU is going to be overloaded too, so he's going to be missing out on a lot of stuff. Wow, this is potentially really
Archosis play.
Don't do anything. Yeah, Flame Tongue for sure going to come out here. So it's something interesting. D2 is paid 9 points of health in this position, but he gets an extra card from his opponent. That's a pretty hefty price to pay, but a lot of times it can be worth it. Like, it seems strange to pay 9 points of health to get 1 extra card, but that can literally be the difference between winning and losing. You know, I mean, this deck, like pretty much all the control decks, is able to use its life tool as a resource to some degree.
Yeah, Priest more than other classes because of its hero power. Okay, let's see what magic he can make with Wild Pyromancer. Pretty much the same exact play we were talking about.
Yeah, he spotted this sequence last turn. And so now it's just a matter of making it happen. So again, 9 points of life paid to get an extra Flame Tongue Totem out of your opponent. But that's one of those key cards, you know, like Flame Tongue Totem is one of the tools they use to actually put a lot of pressure on you. And so the fact that he can just get it out of the way right now with just a few points of life paid, I think he's pretty ecstatic about that.
Yep, and now we have a clear board, and there's like RDU has to start from the beginning with no real clear direction, because even if he plays the Gnomish Inventor, that can get challenged immediately by the Pyromancer unless he wants to spend another card to take out this 3/1 minion. That's so annoying.
Just the way that this matchup lines up, it's just Priest's tools to deal with what you have are they're so counter inefficient to deal with. It's like, not only did it kill all my stuff, but it's still there. So I have to make something else happen.
Yeah.
And he can't use the Lightning Bolt over the Rockbiter. As much as he wants to save Rockbiter for Doomhammer, if he uses Lightning Bolt now, it means he can't Fire Elemental next turn. So what he's got to think about is how often he's going to use Fire Elemental in turn 6. And there's also the possibility he just doesn't do anything. I mean, he may just be fine with this Wild Pyromancer just trading straight up for this Gnomish Inventor. I think that's totally reasonable. Second
D2 sees a hover marker. Does that indicate that RDU has the Rockbiter as well?
I mean, he certainly can think about it. You know, that's one of those things, like we see Firebat do that a lot. He'll just grab cards that don't really do anything.
Grab the Lightning Bolt and aim it at himself as if he had Rockbiter.
Well, in this position, he would do something like grab fire.
Everybody stay away, I'll do it! He has the Lightning Bolt pointed at his own head.
He would do something like, he would like grab Fire Elemental and just hold it there for a while and like not do anything with it.
Yeah,
this is a really interesting play. I did not expect that. I'm really surprised he didn't choose to use Doomhammer this turn. I guess something that he's thinking about is like, if my opponent Harrison Jones is Doomhammer, do I just lose?
That is one way to let the Shaman have an opening. You still have Circle of Healing Akonai, which is a big default, and you still haven't picked up Holy Nova with Wild Pyromancer's another clear.
Yeah. That Injured Blade Master is going to continue to become a threat this game, too. He's got to figure out a way to actually deal with that also.
Well, he chooses to deal with the Wire Pyromancer. It makes sense.
Yep. No Shadow Word Death on the other side of the board, too, so not the worst spot to be in.
I mean, I think killing off the Pyromancer is the higher priority, though. Like, the Pyromancer sweeps just are too annoying to have to worry about in the future turns.
Yeah. So many plays available. Does he want to draw cards? Does he want to kill his Fire Elemental? I don't even think it's that bad to lead with like the Northshire Cleric and just Holy Nova.
You mean Holy Fire?
No, I think if you Northshire Cleric and then Holy Nova, like you'll pick up 2 extra cards. You can use the Injured Blade Master to take out the 2/4, and then you can Holy Fire the 6/5.
Oh, you mean Circle of
Yeah.
Fire. I thought I was misreading something.
Yeah, the problem with that play is that he loses his Auchenai combo later on, but he's developing to such a point where he's already stabilizing like basically without it, so he may just not need it this game. He's already seen like one.
Sure. Are you not worried about Hex at all?
It's not that you're not worried about Hex. I just don't think that I don't think it's something that is gonna like implicate you that much.
Sure.
This is one of the reasons, by the way, I wanted to use it beforehand too, is because that Shadow Word Death now could have taken out that Fire Elemental, so he'd still have Holy Fire in his hand, and there's just not a lot of targets in these Shaman decks for stuff like Shadow Word Death.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
You missed out on an opportunity to...
Yeah, if you're going to draw cards, you might as well draw the cards first, right?
Yes, sir. Or so the saying goes.
This is big trouble for RDU.
Yeah, it still hasn't changed the fact that D2 is up on the cards and now has a much stronger board than he does.
Yeah.
And will continue to do so.
Black Knight actually going to get some value here too.
Yeah. Why not? Black Knight can do stuff. If you want to go slightly off curve, you can... I mean, you're talking about keeping Doomhammer there. But I feel like Black Knight also can be a really strong opposing presence. And he's doing the right thing here, drawing first.
He should draw first, for sure.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
This is why you want to draw cards first. It's like how much difference does this make now? I think this is still a better follow-up. Like right here, he gets the Flame Tongue Totem for free.
But now the Harvest Golem next turn. Oh.
None shall pass.
Oh, man.
Bam. Free cards everywhere. And look at the card advantage that D2 has. And it's like both of these players have just been playing their cards the way that they should play them, I think. Just the natural...
I don't feel like there's anything else RDU could have really done in this situation. He's going to go for Lightning Storm.
I cannot disagree with this. I mean, this is his chance to get back into the game, really.
All right, Lightning
Low
bolts.
roll feels bad too. Yeah, I think he's still thinking the same thing. Like he wants to hold the Rockbiter for Doomhammer. He's just going to need that at some point. Now D2 again. This is still another decision for D2. Like he can use this Doomhammer, but how much is he worried about Harrison Jones? And I think that's why he hasn't played it so far yet, is because Harrison Jones is on his radar.
Yeah, I feel like you can still get away. Your opponent already used Flame Tongue, so Sludge Belcher still challenges the board enough.
Or do you just happen to have Black Knight ready?
That is true. I guess if you're going to play around Black Knight, you're going to play around Harrison Jones. Also, I think Black Knight's a lot less intrusive than Harrison Jones.
He's going to go for Doomhammer. All right. So, do we know if he has Harrison Jones in this deck yet?
I don't know.
It's not often you see Anduin attacking with a Doomhammer, but this is one of those games, and I think if RDU's got Harrison Jones, he's going to need it right now.
No.
Not quite. Not quite the card draw you wanted.
Still has time.
Oh! Wow, he picks up a Swabooze!
What?
Well, all right. He doesn't get to draw 6 cards. He certainly gets out of the way.
Written that any better.
Still a pretty bad spot to be in, though. Like, no much gets Wild Pyromancer's trade 1-for-1. He's not even worried about it at this point. He's got Mind Control. He's got Auchenai Soul Priest. He's got Shadow Word Death. He's got Sludge Belcher. He's got all the tools he needs to fend this off, and this is one of the reasons why this matchup is so poor also is because the premier removal spell from Shaman, which is Hex, doesn't have a lot of efficient targets. It's like your opponent's just battling you on attrition so hard. Gosh, how does
you have to
how does
Hex,
he find
don't
pressure?
you?
I don't know. How does he find pressure?
If you don't Hex, your opponent just builds up a stronger board and snipes whatever you do. But I suppose you realize that the Hex, like if you Hex now and your opponent drops you Sarah, then you are just absolutely toast. There's nothing you can do.
Oh, he's seen Ysera from this deck too, so he knows it's there. So Black Knight's going to get a little bit of value, but I don't think it's going to be nearly enough. I mean,
oh man,
hold in this game.
Yep, Black Knight. He needs another Lightning Storm perhaps to bring it back in.
He needs a Deathwing or 4.
Yes, Deathwing into Deathwing.
Could be a bad one.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Gonna Hex that guy. This board's still gonna be lost here, though. Do you just mind control this 4/5? I think that's a totally fine play. I mean, you've already gotten one Lightning Storm out of the way.
Sure. Because then you threaten lethal next turn, right? Say you do 6 damage now. Oh, well, I guess he doesn't want to. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine to do it this way. This is one of the advantages. He can kind of just sit back and do whatever he wants.
Yep, the conservative play versus the play to press the advantage. RDU is in big trouble.
Yep.
Well, I don't foresee him getting out of this one. Man. He's hanging in there, though. And if he gets Lightning Storm and his opponent can't really deal with board, it weakens him a lot. I don't know. It's still so tough. The Shaman just gets outvalued so hard.
There's a Holy Nova. That can pretty much... He can just do whatever he wants. He's going to clear this board. He has so many ways to clear this board.
Yes. The Holy Nova allows him to kill off the Feral Spirits effortlessly now. And... yeah, I suppose you just push in very slowly for damage. The question is, do you heal RDU first before you do this whole other play? I guess not.
Not quite
There's
yet.
nothing else here from this position. Yeah. So dominant. So dominant that we're going to push your eyes. Zoom in, enhance. Thank you.
This game is done. Earthshock's not what he needed. Too much health on the board. Too much power. Too many cards. RDU is going to concede this game. D2 takes it 3-2. Priest, again, showing its dominance in this Shaman matchup. I cannot tell you how many games I've lost with Shaman and how many games I've won with Priest in this matchup. It is so one-sided. This is sort of the blessing and the curse of Shaman is that it's so good in a lot of matchups, but Priest is a powerful deck and a deck that's often used to counter Hunters. So if you intend to ban Warlock, I think it makes a lot of sense to bring Priest because you anticipate your opponents kind of doing the same thing in a lot of situations and then bringing Shaman along because it's just such a strong deck right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very well done by D2. He's going to go on to play Lothar. But before we do that, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, the winner's round 2 here at Battle of the Best. Be right back, guys.